Constitution of the Orders of Guyana. Advance leading to increased efficiency in the application of technology to a production or development process in industry or for any other significant achievement or contribution to national development. Use of designation and decoration by persons awarded the Medal of Service. Pro CL 1978. 24. The award of the Medal of Service, A, to a person shall entitle him or her to have the suffix MS placed after his or her name, and to wear as a decoration the insignia and ribbon prescribed for recipients of the Medal of Service in the rules of the order. Maximum number of members of the Order of Service. Pro CL 1 1984 1988. B. Under Section 23(2)(b), shall not be subject to the limitations imposed by Sections 25 and 26, and shall entitle the recipient to display during the ensuing period of 5 years an emblem of the award in particular, on the packaging of, or on, goods produced by it, on office stationery, in its advertisements and on articles used by employees of the recipient, in the course of their duties. 25. Awards, not including awards on an honorary basis, are limited in the case of the Cacique's Crown of Honor to 100 living citizens of Guyana, in the case of the Golden Arrow of Achievement, to 200 living citizens of Guyana, and in the case of the Medal of Service to 350 living citizens of Guyana. Constitution of the Orders of Guyana. Allocation of awards. Procol. 5 1981. 26. The President may award, A, the Cacique's Crown of Honor to a maximum of 2 citizens of Guyana every year, or such greater number as special circumstances may in his or her opinion require, so long as vacancies exist. B. The Golden Arrow of Achievement to a maximum of 5 citizens of Guyana every year, or such greater number as special circumstances may in his or her opinion require, so long as vacancies exist. C. The Medal of Service to a maximum of 10 citizens of Guyana every year, or such greater number as special circumstances may in his or her opinion require, so long as vacancies exist. Award of a higher grade in the Order of Service. Proxel. 5 1981. 27. Where a person who holds an award under Section 18(1) is given a higher award thereunder, he or she shall return his or her insignia and ribbon relating to the lower award to the Chancellor of the Order, and shall wear the insignia and ribbon of the higher award, and use the suffix of the higher award after his or her name. The Cacique's Crown of Valor. 28. 1. The Cacique's Crown of Valor shall be awarded for the highest acts of bravery in circumstances of great danger involving serious risk to life. 2. Where the award is made to a person who already holds the Cacique's Crown of Honor for distinguished services other than bravery, he or she shall return the insignia and ribbon relating to the latter award to Constitution of the Orders of Guyana, the Chancellor of the Order, and shall wear the special insignia for bravery, which consists of the normal insignia of the Cacique's Crown of Honor with the words for valor emblazoned on the reverse side of the medal, and the ribbon edged in scarlet to denote bravery. In addition, the person shall wear a silver bar on his or her ribbon to denote that he or she holds both awards. 3. For any second or subsequent act of bravery meriting similar recognition, a person awarded the Cacique's Crown of Valor shall be awarded a bronze bar to be worn on the ribbon for each such act. 4. A person to whom the Cacique's Crown of Valor has been awarded shall be entitled to, A. Have the CCV placed after his or her name. B. Wear as a decoration the insignia and ribbon prescribed for the recipients of the Cacique's Crown of Valor in the rules of the order. 29. 1. The Golden Arrow of Courage shall be the second highest award for bravery, the Golden Arrow of Courage. 2. For any second or subsequent act of bravery meriting similar recognition, a person awarded the Golden Arrow of Courage shall be awarded a bronze bar to be worn on the ribbon for each such act. 3. A person to whom the Golden Arrow of Courage has been awarded is entitled to Constitution of the Orders of Guyana. A. Have the suffix AC placed after his or her name, and B. Wear as a decoration the insignia and ribbon prescribed for recipients of the Golden Arrow of Courage in the rules of the order. President's Commendation for Brave Conduct. 30. 1. The President's Commendation for Brave Conduct shall be awarded for lesser acts of bravery deserving of official recognition by the state. 2. The award shall bear no medal, but a person so recognized shall wear a typical Guyana leaf in gold in miniature as prescribed in the rules on occasions when medals or ribbons are to be worn. He or she shall also receive a citation signed by the President over the seal of Guyana. The Military Service Star. 31. 1. The Military Service Star shall be the highest award of the state for military service by officers of the Guyana Defense Force, and shall be awarded for gallantry in action or service of an exceptionally high quality beyond the normal call of duty. 2. A person to whom the Military Service Star has been awarded is entitled to, A. Have the suffix MSS placed after his or her name, and B. Wear as a decoration on appropriate occasions the insignia and ribbon prescribed in the rules of the order. The Military Service Medal. 32. 1. The Military Service Medal may be awarded in respect of military service by members of the Guyana Defense Force for gallantry in action or other distinguished service beyond the normal call of duty. 2. A person to whom the Military Service Medal has been awarded is entitled to, A. Have the suffix MSM placed after his or her name, and B. Wear on appropriate occasions the insignia and ribbon prescribed in the rules of the order. The Efficiency Medal. The Profile Prisons and Fire Services Awards. 33. The Efficiency Medal may be awarded in respect of military service to officers and other ranks of the Guyana Defense Force who complete not less than 10 years efficient service. 34. The Disciplined Services Star for Distinguished Service or the Disciplined Services Medal for Meritorious Service or the Disciplined Services Medal for Long Service and Good Conduct may be awarded to a citizen in respect of service as a member of the police force, or the prison service or the fire brigade. The insignia and ribbons of these awards shall show the respective services in respect of which they were awarded. The Disciplined Services Star. 35. 1. The Disciplined Services Star shall be the highest award of the state for distinguished service beyond the normal call of duty in the police force, or the prison service or the fire brigade. 2. A person to whom the Disciplined Services Star has been awarded is entitled to a. Have the suffix DSS placed after his or her name, and b. Wear as a decoration on appropriate occasions the insignia and ribbon prescribed in the rules of the order, the Disciplined Services Medal for Meritorious Service. 36. 1. The Disciplined Services Medal for Meritorious Service shall be awarded for sustained and dedicated service of a high order. 2. A person to whom the Disciplined Services Medal for Meritorious Service has been awarded is entitled to a. Have the suffix DSM placed after his or her name, and b. Wear as a decoration on appropriate occasions the insignia and ribbon prescribed in the rules of the order, the Disciplined Services Medal for Long Service and Good Conduct. 37. The Disciplined Services Medal for Long Service and Good Conduct shall be awarded under the following conditions. A. The award shall be granted after the completion of 15 years continuous whole-time service. B. The person recommended shall have no entry in his or her defaulter's record for a period of 12 years, and c. Not more than 2 bars shall be awarded and each bar shall be awarded after an interval of 5 years. Constitution of the Orders of Guyana. 38. Any citizen of another country who has rendered valuable service to Guyana or has performed an outstanding and specific act of service or achievement of an exceptional nature may be eligible for an award under Section 18 on an honorary basis. Precedence among members of the Order of Service of Guyana. 39th. Members of the Order of Service of Guyana shall rank among themselves in the following order. A. The Cacique's Crown of Valor. B. The Cacique's Crown of Honor. C. The Golden Arrow of Courage. D. The Golden Arrow of Achievement. E. The Medal of Service. F. The President's Commendation for Brave Conduct. Precedence for other awards. 40. The Order of Precedence for Military Service Awards and the Precedence of Police, Prisons and Fire Service Awards shall be prescribed in the rules of the order. Administration of the Orders. The Chancellor. 41. The President of Guyana shall be the Chancellor of the Order of Excellence of Guyana, the Order of Roraima of Guyana, and of the Order of Service of Guyana. Administration of the Orders. 42. The Chancellor of the Orders shall be charged with the administration of the orders. Subsidiary. 43. The Chancellor of the Orders shall make rules governing the order of precedence of honors in Guyana. 44. There shall be an advisory council for the orders hereinafter called the council comprised of a. The Chancellor of the Supreme Court of Judicature, who shall be the chairman of the council. b. Not less than 5 nor more than 7 other members hereinafter called the appointed members, who shall be citizens of Guyana, and who shall be appointed as follows, that is to say, I. Not more than 4 members appointed by the President acting after consultation with the Prime Minister. Q. 1 member appointed by the President after consultation with the Leader of the Opposition. C. 1 member appointed by the President acting in accordance with his or her own deliberate judgment. IV. 1 other member appointed by the President acting after consultation with the Prime Minister. From, among citizens of Guyana who are members of the Order of Excellence of Guyana. Vacation of office by appointed members of the Council, provided that the Advisory Council may act notwithstanding any vacancy in its membership or the absence of any member. 45. 1. The office of an appointed member of the Council shall become vacant. A. If he or she resigns from that office by writing under his or her hand addressed to the President. B. At the expiration of 3 years from the date of his or her appointment, or at such earlier time as may be specified in the instrument by which he or she was appointed, or c. If he or she is appointed to the office of Chancellor of the Supreme Court of Judicature. 2. Any appointed member whose term of office has expired shall be eligible for reappointment. Functions of the Council. 46. The Council shall a. Consider nominations of citizens of Guyana made by ministries of the government through the permanent secretaries, nominations made by any organization approved by the Council and nominations initiated by members of the Council for I. Appointments to the Order of Excellence of Guyana or the Order of Roraima of Guyana or 2. Awards within the Order of Service of Guyana. B. Submit to the President a list of persons whom the Council recommend for appointment to the Order of Excellence of Guyana, the Order of Roraima of Guyana, or for awards within the Order of Service of Guyana. The Secretary General. Proxel 5 1981. C. Advise the President in respect of any other matters concerning the orders. 47. The permanent secretary to the office of the President, or any such person as he or she may designate for the purpose, shall be the Secretary General of the Orders, and as such shall maintain the records of the Orders and of the Council, arrange investitures and perform such other functions as the President may direct. Other officials. 48. 1. The President may appoint such other officials of the Orders as he or she in his or her discretion considers advisable. 2. A person shall not be deemed to be a member of any of the Orders, by reason only of his or her being a member of the Advisory Council or an official of the Orders. Making of awards. The President, after satisfying himself that the subsidiary Constitution of the Orders of Guyana, Procel 5 1981, recommendations are in order, may approve the recommendations made by the Council. Appointments and awards to be under seal. 50. All appointments to and awards within the three orders shall be made by instrument signed by the President and sealed with the seal of Guyana, and shall have effect from the date of affixing of the under seal, unless another effective date is specified in the instrument. Review of maximum number of members of the order. 51. The Cabinet may, on the recommendation of the Advisory Council tendered through the President, review the maximum number of members prescribed for any of the orders. Termination of membership. Termination of membership of orders. 52. 1. A person shall cease to be a member or an honorary member of an order upon a. his or her death, b. his or her resignation from the order, which shall take effect from the date on which a resignation in writing is accepted by the President, or the revocation of his or her appointment or award by the President. 2. The President may revoke the appointment of any person who is a member of the Order of Excellence of Guyana, or of the Order of Roraima of Guyana, or the award of any person he is member de l'Ordre de Service de Guyana on advice of the Prime Minister, after consultation with the Advisory Council. Insignia and ribbon to be returned. 53. Where a person ceases to be a member or an honorary member of an order, under the provisions of subsidiary Constitution of the Orders of Guyana, where person ceased to be a member of an order. Section 52 by virtue of his or her resignation from the order or the revocation of his or her appointment or award, his or her insignia and ribbon shall be returned to the Chancellor of the member of orders. Seal. 54. No appointment, award, rule or any revocation thereof shall necessarily have effect unless it has been sealed with the seal of Guyana. Custody of insignia and records. Custody of insignia and records. 55. The President shall have the custody of the insignia, ribbons and of all records of the orders. The insignia and ribbons of the orders shall remain the property of the orders. Rules of the orders. 56. The President may make rules relating to the establishment, power to government, investitures, and insignia and ribbons of the orders. R. 1 1981. Constitution of Orders of Guyana, replacement of medals, miniatures, and ribbons rules, made under Section 56. Citation. 1. These rules may be cited as the Constitution of the Orders of Guyana, replacement of medals, miniatures, and ribbons rules. Application for replacement. 2. A recipient of an award under the Constitution of the Orders of Guyana may, where it becomes necessary to obtain a replacement of a medal, ribbon, or miniature issued to him or her, in respect of that award, make an application to the Secretary General for replacement of such medal, ribbon, or miniature. Application to state circumstances. Provided that where the recipient is a member of a disciplined force, such application shall be made through the head of the disciplined force of which he or she is a member. 3. 1. An application made under Rule 2 shall state the circumstances giving rise to the application and shall be signed by the applicant. 2. The Secretary General shall acknowledge the receipt of every such application. Mode of dealing with application. 4. 1. Where the Secretary General is satisfied that the circumstances set out in the application warrant its approval, he or she shall inform the applicant of Constitution of the Orders of Guyana, replacement of medals, miniatures, and ribbons rules. A. The cost of replacement of the medal, ribbon, or miniature including, where it is to be posted to him or her, postage. B. The date on which the medal, ribbon, or miniature may be issued to him or her, or to a person authorized in writing by him or her be posted to his or her address, where a request for posting has been made by him or her. 2. Where the Secretary General is not satisfied that the circumstances set out in the application warrant its approval, he or she shall refuse the application, and inform the applicant accordingly. 3. Where an application is refused under Rule 4.2, the applicant may, within 10 days of being informed of the refusal, appeal against such refusal to the Chairman of the Council, whose decision on such appeal shall be final. Public Service Commission Rules. Arrangement of Rules. Chapter 1 Preliminary. 1. Citation. 2. Interpretation. Chapter 2 The Public Service Commission. 3. Composition and Functions, Oath of Office. 4. Meetings. 5. Procedure, Quorum and Voting, Termination of Service, Decisions other than at meeting. 7. Leave of Absence. 8. Secretary to the Commission. 9. Duties of Secretary. 10. Record of meeting and decisions. 11. Evidence. 12. Non-compliance and appearing before Commission. 13. Certificates, testimonials and recommendations. 14. Delegation of powers. 15. Unauthorized disclosure of information. 16. Offense to give false information or to influence Commission. 17. Publication of instruments of delegation. 18. Review by Commission of Delegated Authority. 19. Protection of Chairman and Members. 20. Director of Public Prosecutions Fiat, Rule. Chapter 3 Appointments, Promotions and Transfers. 21. Application for appointment. 22. Admission to public service. 23. Filling of vacancies. 24. Appointment within the particular section. 25. Appointment within the public service. 26. Appointments in special cases. 27. Advertisements of vacancies. 28. Selection boards. 29. Principles of selection for promotion. 30. Seniority list to be kept up to date. 31. Seniority determined by date of appointment. 32. Commission to determine seniority. 33. Principles of selection for acting appointment followed by substantive appointment. 34. Permanent secretary to notify eligible officers of vacancies. 35. Principles of selection for acting appointment, not followed by substantive appointment. 36. Recommendation for acting appointment to be submitted in advance. 37. Reasons for supersession to be stated. 38. Notice to officers transferred. 39. Representation by officer. 40. Date of appointment. 41. Medical examination on appointment. Chapter 4 Probationary appointments. 42. Period of probation on first appointment. 43. Commission to determine requirement of probation. 44. Waiver portion of period of probation. 45. Confidential reports on officer on probation. Public Service Commission rules. Rule 46. Officer may make representation. 47. Commission to confirm appointment. 48. Permanent secretary to keep records. 49. Commencing pay. Chapter 5 Staff appraisal reports. 50. Staff reports. Officer to be informed of adverse report. 51. 1. Officer to be informed of shortcomings and given instructions on how to perform his duties. 2. Report to determine eligibility for promotion. 52. Representation with respect to adverse report. Chapter 6 Retirement and termination of appointments. 53. Termination of appointment by officer. 54. Abandonment. 55. Instances for termination of appointment mainly by employer. 56. Compulsory and voluntary retirement. 57. Premature retirement and retirement in public interest. 58. Retirement in special cases. 59. Termination of appointment on abolition of office or for facilitating improvement in the organization of a ministry or department. 60%. Termination of appointment by dismissal on grounds of unsatisfactory service. 61. Medical boards. 62. Unfit officers. 63. Communication to determine date service terminated. Rule. Chapter 7. Discipline. 64. Officer liable to disciplinary proceedings. 65. Permanent secretary or head of department to inform police of alleged criminal offense. Prosecution before the court. Suspension by the commission. 66. Departmental disciplinary proceedings. Disciplinary tribunal. 67. Duties of disciplinary tribunal. 68. Notification of charge and tribunal report. 69. Refusal to make statement. 70. Witnesses. 71. Procedure of disciplinary tribunal. 72. Adjournment of hearing. 73. Failure to attend hearing. 74. Main purpose of tribunal. 75. Report of tribunal to be forwarded to secretary. 76. Tribunal report to be examined by commission. 77. Commission may call for fresh proceedings. 78. Proceedings to be private. 79. Penalties. 80. No disciplinary action while criminal proceedings pending. 81. Disciplinary tribunal may adjourn and report to commission. 82. Disciplinary tribunal to report where evidence insufficient. 83. Disciplinary tribunal to report other misconduct disclosed at hearing. 84. Commission to consider report of tribunal and inform officer of findings. 85. Commission may remove officer in public interest. 86%. Disciplinary action after acquittal of criminal charge. 87. Conviction on criminal charge. 88. Non-payment of remuneration. 89. Definition of misconduct. Rule. Chapter 8 Conduct. 90. General conduct. 91. Duties of officer. 92. Discourtesy. 93. Absence without leave. 94. Not to participate at public meetings, not to allow interviews, not to publish comments. 95. Bankruptcy. 96. Gifts or rewards. 97%. Legal proceedings. 98. Breach of rules. Public Service Commission rules. Made under the Constitution of Guyana. Chapter 1. Citation. 1. These rules may be cited as the Public Service Commission rules. Interpretation. 2. In these rules, unless the context otherwise requires, acting appointment means the temporary appointment of an officer to a higher office, whether that office is vacant or not. Public Service Commission rules. The Constitution means the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, c. 2202. Fire Service means service in the Guyana Fire Service established by the Fire Service Act, or any act amending the same. Head of department means the head of department responsible for the administration of a department of government, whether or not that department is integrated with a ministry. Official Gazette means the official gazette published by order of the government, and includes supplements thereto. and any extraordinary official gazette so published. Permanent secretary means the administrative head of a ministry. Prescribed form means the appropriate form as may from time to time be prescribed by the Commission. Prison service means service in the Guyana Prison Service established by the Prisons Act, or any act amending the same. Promotion means the appointment of an officer either substantively, or to act in any office higher than the office or post that the officer was holding. Public Service Commission rules. Substantively immediately before such appointment, and include such appointment by way of secondment, transfer or otherwise of that officer. Public office subject to the provision of Article 232(5) of the Constitution means a permanent office of emolument in the public service. Public officer or officer means a person who holds or is acting in a public office of the public service and who is subject to the jurisdiction of the Commission. Public service means service of the government of Guyana in a civil capacity and includes the Guyana Fire Service and the Guyana Prison Service. Secondment means the temporary assignment of an officer in a particular ministry or department to serve for a period in an office of another ministry or department, or in the public service of a government as defined in the pensions regulations, or in an office under a statutory board, or Local Democratic Organs Act as defined in Section 2 of the Local Democratic Organs Act. Statutory board includes corporation, tribunal, commission, committee or other similar body as approved by the Commission. The secretary means the secretary to the Commission. Transfer means the release of an officer from his position in the public service for service in a similar graded or higher position of the public service, or the relinquishment of an officer's position for service on a statutory board. Subsidiary. Chapter 2. The Public Service Commission. 3. Such oath or affirmation shall be administered by or made before the President. 4. The Secretary and other members of the staff of the Commission shall on their appointment as such, take the oath or make the affirmation set out in Form 2, and Form 3 of the schedule respectively. Such oath or affirmation shall, in the case of the Secretary, be administered by or made before the Chairman of the Commission, and in the case of the other members of the staff, shall be administered by or before the Secretary. 4. 1. The Commission shall meet as often as may be necessary for the purpose of performing its functions, and such meetings shall be held on such days and at such time and place as the Chairman, or, if he is not available, the Deputy Chairman shall determine. If the Chairman and the Deputy Chairman are not available, the Commission shall meet on such days, and at such time and place as the member, for the time being who is appointed to act in the office as Chairman under Article 205 of the Constitution, shall determine. 2. Where a member fails to attend at least 4 consecutive meetings without reasonable excuse, the Chairman shall make a report to the President. Subsidiary. Public Service Commission rules, procedure, quorum and voting. 5. 1. The Chairman or in his absence the Deputy Chairman or the member, who for the time being is appointed to act in the office of Chairman shall preside at meetings. 2. At any meeting of the Commission, the Chairman or the Deputy Chairman or the Acting Chairman and 2 members shall constitute a quorum. 3. All questions for discussion at any meeting shall be decided by a majority of the votes of the members present. 4. The Chairman, or in his absence the Deputy Chairman or the member for the time being acting in the office of Chairman shall have an original vote, and in the event of any equality of votes, shall have as well a second or casting vote. 5. Where in respect of a decision in a disciplinary charge, the votes are equally divided on the question as to whether a public officer should be removed from office, the Chairman, Deputy Chairman or other member who is for the time being acting in the office of Chairman shall not have a casting vote and the power to remove the public officer from officer shall not be exercised. Termination of service under any law. 6. 1. Where under any law the services of a public officer can be terminated with redundancy or severance benefits, after any prescribed period of notice is given the officer, the recommendation of the permanent secretary or head of department for any such termination shall be forwarded to the Commission for its approval. Decisions other than at meetings. 2. Notwithstanding Rule 5 but subject to Rule 6.3, any question for decision by the Commission may, instead of being decided at a meeting of the Commission, be decided by circulation of the relevant papers to all members for them to. Subsidiary. Express the views in writing and record their decision, and in such case the decision shall be in accordance with the view expressed by the majority of members. 3. If any member requires that a matter or question being dealt with by circulation of the relevant papers shall be reserved for consideration at the next following meeting of the Commission, no decision shall be made on that matter or question except at a meeting of the Commission. Grant of leave of absence to members. 7. The Chairman, at his discretion, may on the application of any member of the Commission grant to such member leave of absence from the Commission and forthwith notify the President of any leave so granted. Secretary to the Commission. Duties of Secretary. 8. There shall be a Secretary to the Commission who shall be a public officer. 9. It shall be the duty of the Secretary a. To submit, whether in writing or orally, matters for the decision of the Commission. b. To notify members of the Commission as to the day, time and place of meetings of the Commission. c. To attend meeting of the Commission. d. To ensure that all documents and papers relating to any matter being or to be considered by the Commission are made available to the Commission, and that all the decisions of the Commission are carried out. Public Service Commission rules. To be the chief executive officer responsible for the administrative functions of the Secretariat of the Commission, and F. Generally to be responsible for matters relating to the functions of the Commission, record of meetings and decisions. 10. 1. The Secretary shall ensure that minutes of all meetings of the Commission and of all decisions arrived at under Rule 6 shall be fully recorded and kept, and that the minutes shall be presented, for confirmation by the Commission, as soon as practicable, and at a subsequent meeting, or by individual members on circulation thereof. 2. Any member of the Commission who dissents from a decision may require that his dissent and reasons for dissenting be recorded in the minutes. 11. 1. The Commission at its discretion may require any public officer or other person to attend and give evidence before it touching any matter concerning the conduct of a public officer which it has under inquiry, and may require that public officer or other person to produce any official document or other document relating to that matter. 2. All oral evidence given before the Commission shall be upon oath or affirmation administered by the Secretary in accordance with the form of oath or affirmation prescribed by the provision of the Evidence Act, Chapter 502, Consultation with other persons. 3. The Commission in considering any matter or question may in its discretion consult with the executive of an association of public officers, or with any person or body of persons, as the Commission may consider proper and desirable, and may require that person or persons to attend a subsidiary Public Service Commission rules meeting of the Commission for the purpose of assisting the Commission in its deliberation on such matter or question, whether by furnishing written or oral information or otherwise. Non-compliance. 12. Any public officer who without reasonable excuse fails to appear before the Commission when required to do so, or who fails to comply with any reasonable request made by the Commission or with any requirement of these rules, shall be guilty of misconduct. Certificates, testimonial and recommendations. 13. 1. Members of the Commission shall not issue any written certificates, testimonial, recommendation or other document supporting the application of any person for appointment to an office in the public service. 2. Nothing in the preceding rule shall prohibit any person other than members of the Commission from giving a certificate, testimonial, or recommendation to any applicant or candidate for any public office. Delegation of powers. 14. Subject to Article 201(2) of the Constitution and the Public Service Rules, the Commission, with the approval of the Prime Minister, may delegate to a permanent secretary, head of department, or the clerk of the National Assembly any of the powers and functions of the Commission detailed hereunder. A. Temporary appointments. The power to appoint persons on recruitment from outside the Guyana Public Service in a temporary capacity to an office in a ministry or department. B. Acting appointments. 1. The power to appoint a person to act in a public office in any ministry or department, whether such acting subsidiary appointment is in a vacant post or a post which is temporarily vacant, provided that the acting appointment is for a period not exceeding 4 months, and where it is made in respect of a vacant post, the officer is informed that such acting appointment shall not give him or her any prior claim to eventual permanent appointment thereto. 2. In the exercise of the power delegated under Rule 14a above, the permanent secretary or head of department shall apply the principles of selection prescribed in Rule 29 hereunder. C. Substantive appointments. The power to appoint persons substantively to a public office in any ministry or department. D. Transfers. 1. The power to transfer a public officer from an office in a grade in a ministry or department to which such an officer is assigned to a similar office in that grade in the same or some other ministry or department, with no alteration with respect to his or her remuneration. 2. The power delegated under Rule D1 above shall be exercised by the permanent secretary or head of department in accordance with the provisions of Rule 38 hereunder, which requires notice to be given to such officer, and which preserves the right of the officer transferred to make representations to the Commission. E. Suspension. The power to direct a public officer assigned to a ministry or department to cease to report for duty in accordance with Rule 65(3)(a) hereunder and the Permanent Public Service Commission rules. Secretary or head of department shall report the exercise of this power forthwith to the Commission. F. Discipline. 1. The power to exercise disciplinary control in respect of any alleged act of misconduct or indiscipline, as specified in the Public Service Rules, to the extent that the permanent secretary or head of department may charge a public officer with any offense described in the aforesaid Public Service Rules, and may impose, in respect of such misconduct or indiscipline, the appropriate penalty therein specified, or as specified in the Termination of Employment and Severance Pay Act. C. 9601. Publication and disclosure of information to unauthorized person prohibited. 15. 1. Save and except in the course of his duty, no person shall, without the written permission of the Commission, publish or disclose to any person the contents, or any part thereof, of any document, communication or information whatsoever, which has come to his possession or knowledge in the course of his duties as a member of the Commission, or a member of the staff of the Commission, in respect of any matter to be or already dealt with by the Commission under the Constitution or these rules. 2. No public officer, who has knowledge or possession of any information which has been disclosed in contravention of the provisions of this rule, shall publish or communicate it to any other person otherwise than for the purpose of any prosecution or proceedings under these rules. Offense to give false information or influence the commission. 16. 1. Any public officer who in connection with an application by any person for appointment to a public office, gives to the commission or to any member thereof or to any person or body of persons appointed to assist the commission in the exercise of its functions or the discharge of its duties, any information which to his knowledge is false in a subsidiary, material particular or by reason of any willful omission of a material particular, shall be guilty of an offense under these rules and liable to disciplinary action under Section 18(2) of the Termination of Employment and Severance Pay Act. 2. Any public officer who otherwise than in the course of his duty, directly or indirectly by himself or any other person in any matter whatsoever influence or attempts to influence any decision of the commission or chairman or any member thereof, shall be guilty of an offense under these rules and liable to disciplinary action under Section 18(2) of the Termination of Employment and Severance Pay Act. See 9601. Instruments of delegation to be published. 17. 1. Whenever the Commission delegates any of its powers to any of its members or to any public officer, in accordance with paragraph 2 of Article 201 of the Constitution, the Secretary shall cause notice of such delegation to be published in the Official Gazette. 2. A notice published under Rule 17(1) shall contain the information specifying a. The powers delegated, b. The person or persons to whom such delegation is made, c. The extent of such delegation, d. The terms and conditions of such delegation and may include I. The manner in which matters dealt with under such delegation may reach the Commission. Subsidiary. Public Service Commission rules, i.e., the procedure to be followed in dealing with matters under such delegated authority. 3. Every delegation under this rule shall be revocable by the Commission at any time. Reference of certain cases to Commission. 18. Where by virtue of the provisions of paragraph 2 of Article 201 of the Constitution, the power to remove or to discipline a public officer has been exercised by a person or authority so delegated by the Commission, the public officer in respect of whom the power was so exercised may apply to the Commission to review the decision taken by such persons or authority, in accordance with the following provisions. A. The public officer shall within a month of receiving the notification of his removal or disciplinary punishment, forward a request through the permanent secretary of the ministry or head of department, in which he is serving to the person or authority, who exercised the power to remove or discipline him to refer the matter to the Commission for review, and he shall serve forthwith a copy of such request on the secretary to the Commission. B. Upon receipt of a request under the preceding paragraph, the person or authority who exercised the power to remove or discipline, shall forthwith prepare a report of the matter and forward to the secretary such report, together with all documents, papers and other matters relating thereto, and any comments he may wish to make. Subsidiary. Public Service Commission rules, for the consideration of the Commission, protection of chairman and members of the Commission. 19. The chairman and any member of the Commission shall have such protection and privileges respecting any action or suit brought against him for any act done or omitted to be done in the execution of his duty, as are by law given to any judge of the Supreme Court of Judicature acting in the execution of his office. Direction of public prosecutions. Fiat. 20. A prosecution under these rules shall not be instituted except by or with the consent of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Chapter 3. Appointments, Promotion and Transfers. Application for appointment. 21. Every application for a first appointment to the public service shall be addressed to the Secretary on the prescribed form. Admission to the public service. 22. 1. Arrangements may be made by the Commission for the holding of written competitive examinations as may be considered necessary from time to time for admission to or promotion within the public service. 2. Any position in the public service which requires the applicant to take a written examination and/or interview shall be specified in any notification published in the Official Gazette or the newspapers, and on the basis of such examination and/or interview conducted by the Commission, the applicant for appointment shall be selected. 3. Any applicant who fails the examination or interview for admission to the public service in any year shall, if he wishes to be considered again for appointment, subsidiary, apply and resubmit himself for the examination and/or interview in any following year, notwithstanding that he may have held a temporary appointment in the public service in the meantime. 4. Any applicant who passes the examination for admission to the public service in any year, but fails to obtain an appointment, shall, if he wishes to be considered for appointment, reapply and resubmit himself for an interview in the following year, but the Commission may in such case as it shall think fit, waive the requirements of this rule. 5. If more than 2 years elapse between the date when an applicant passes the examination for admission to the public service and the date when he reapplies to be considered for an appointment, then the Commission may, as it thinks fit, require the applicant to resubmit himself for the examination and interview. 6. All examination to be held under this rule shall be set, and the papers marked by such examination board, as may be appointed by the Commission for that purpose, and the Secretary shall be responsible for the conduct of the examinations. 7. An applicant shall not be permanently appointed until he or she has satisfactorily passed a medical examination conducted by a government medical board. Filling of vacancies. 23. 1. As soon as it is known that a vacancy will occur and it is required by the government that the vacancy should be filled either by a substantive temporary or acting appointment or transfer from one ministry department to another, the permanent secretary or head of department shall communicate the information to the secretary in writing and shall request that the vacancy be filled and make his recommendations regarding the filling of the vacancy. This rule does not apply to internal transfer within a ministry department. 2. The secretary shall, from time to time by circular, memoranda, or by publication in the official gazette, the newspapers, or on the radio, give notice of vacancies which are to be filled in the public service, including the duties and qualifications for the vacant posts, and invite applications for appointments thereto. Such applications shall be made on the prescribed form and forwarded direct to the secretary, and a copy forwarded at the same time to the permanent secretary of the ministry or the head of the department in which the officer is serving. But failure of an eligible officer to apply shall not prejudice the consideration of that officer for appointment to the post that is vacant. Appointments within the particular section within the public service. 24. Whenever in the opinion of the Commission it is possible and in the best interest of the particular section within the public service to do so, appointment to vacancies shall be made from within the particular section. Appointments from within the public service. 25. Where in the opinion of the Commission, after considering any recommendations of a permanent secretary or a head of department, it is impractical or not in the best interest of the public service to make an appointment from within the particular section, the Commission may, with or without competition, appoint a person from within the public service, who in the opinion of the Commission, is the most suitable and best qualified. Appointments in special cases. 26. The Commission may make an appointment to a public office without competition, as may be recommended by a permanent secretary of head of department, where a. an appointment to the public office is urgently required, or b. the availability of suitable candidates, Public Service Commission rules, who are qualified for the public office is limited, or c. a person having special skill or knowledge is required for the public office, and the Commission is of the opinion that a competition is not practical or is not in the public interest. Advertisements of vacancies. 27. Where the Commission considers either that there is no suitable candidate already in the public service available for the filling of any vacancy, or that having regard to qualifications, experience, and merit, it would be advantageous and in the best interest of the public service that the services of a person not already in the public service be secured, the Commission may authorize the advertisement of such vacancy in the official gazette or the newspapers. Selection boards. 28. 1. The Commission may from time to time appoint one or more selection boards to assist in the selection of candidates for appointment in the public service, and the composition of any such board, and the form in which its reports are to be submitted shall be in the discretion of the Commission. 2. On consideration of any report of a selection board, the Commission may, in its discretion, summon for interview any of the candidates recommended by such board. Principles of selection for promotion. 29. 1. In considering the eligibility of public officers for promotion, the Commission shall take into account the education qualifications, merit and ability, together with relative efficiency and experience of such officers, and should two or more officers be equally eligible for promotion, the Commission shall give consideration to the relative seniority of the officers available for promotion. Public Service Commission rules. 2. The Commission, in considering the eligibility of officers under Rule 29(1) for promotion, shall attach greater weight to a. Seniority, where promotion is to an office in the grade immediately above an office in the recruiting grade, or b. Meritability and efficiency, where promotion is to an office that involves work requiring progressively higher responsibility and greater initiative. 3. In carrying out its functions under the preceding Rules 29(1) and 2, the Commission shall take into account as regards an officer's eligibility for promotion a. his general physical fitness, b. his position on the seniority list, c. any special course of training that he may have undergone, d. the evaluation of his overall performance as reflected in staff appraisal reports, e. any letter of commendation or special reports in respect of any special work done by the officer, f. his job knowledge and experience, g. the duties of and qualifications required for appointment to the office for which he is a candidate. Subsidiary. Public Service Commission rules. H. Any specific recommendation of the permanent secretary or head of department for filling the particular office. I. Any previous employment of his in the public service or otherwise. J. Any special reports for which the Commission may call, and k. His devotion to duty and general conduct. 4. In addition to the requirements prescribed in Rules 29(1), 2, and 3, the Commission shall consider any specifications that may be required from time to time for appointment to a particular office, or any other matter which, in the opinion of the Commission, is relevant in assessing the eligibility of a public officer for promotion. Seniority list to be kept up to date. 30. The Secretary shall keep proper and up-to-date staff list of all officers setting out their respective seniority in the several grades of the public service. Seniority determined by date of appointment. 31. 1. The seniority of an officer shall be determined by the day of his appointment to the particular grade in which he is serving. The seniority of officers promoted to the same grade on the same date shall be determined by their seniority in their former grade. 2. Where officers have entered the public service by competitive examination and are appointed to the same grade with effect from the same date, the relevant seniority of such officers shall be determined according to their performance in such examination. 3. The seniority of an officer who voluntarily resigns from the public service and is subsequently subsidiary appointed to it shall be reckoned from the date of his appointment. Commission to determine seniority. 32. The Commission shall determine the seniority of the officer in any case not covered by Rule 30 or 31, Principles of Selection for Acting Appointment followed by Substantive Appointment. 33. 1. The Commission shall ensure that as regards an acting appointment which is to be followed by a substantive appointment, any recommendation made by a permanent secretary or head of department to the Commission in relation thereto shall be based on principles set out in Rule 29. 2. Where in the exigencies of the public service it has not been practicable to apply the principles set out in Rule 29, an officer selected for acting appointment in consequence of a recommendation made by a permanent secretary or head of department shall not thereby have any special claim to the substantive appointment. Permanent secretary to notify eligible officers of vacancies. 3. In considering the recommendation made in relation to a substantive appointment, the Commission shall take into account the claims of all eligible officers. 34. 1. Where an acting appointment falls to be made whether as a prelude to a substantive appointment or not, the permanent secretary or head of department shall notify those officers within the ministry or department who in his opinion are eligible for consideration, and forward their names to the Commission. 2. The Commission shall, after notification as required by Rule 34(1), and before appointing an officer to act, allow a period of 7 days to elapse for the purpose of allowing the officers of the ministry or department to make representations on the filling of the vacancy. Subsidiary. 3. Where a vacancy occurs in an office and an acting appointment falls to be made for a period not likely to exceed 28 days as a result of sudden illness or other very special circumstances, the permanent secretary or head of department may with the assent of the secretary appoint an officer to act for such period, and the provisions of Rule 33(1), 2 and 3, 34(1) and 2 shall not apply to such acting appointment. Principles of Selection for Acting Appointment not followed by Substantive Appointment. 35. 1. Where an acting appointment falls to be made otherwise than as a prelude to substantive appointment, the officer appointed shall, a. as a general rule be the senior officer in the ministry or department eligible for such acting appointment, b. assume and discharge the duties and responsibilities of the office to which he is appointed to act. 2. In submitting any recommendation for an acting appointment, the Commission shall examine whether the exigencies of the particular section of the public service would best be served by transferring an officer next in line of seniority from another section. District to act when there is an officer in the same section, district who is capable of performing the duties of the higher grade, and in such examination the question of additional government expenditure for traveling and subsistence allowance and other expenditure shall be borne in mind. Recommendation for acting appointment to be submitted in advance. 36. The permanent secretary or head of department shall submit, well in advance, recommendations for acting appointments to permit their consideration by the Commission, before the dates on which the acting appointments are intended to become effective, but the subsidiary Commission may waive the provisions of this rule, where the necessity to submit recommendations has been occasioned by sudden illness, or very special circumstances or in any other circumstances which the Commission may consider appropriate. Reasons for supersession to be stated. 37. In submitting recommendations for acting appointments to the Commission, permanent secretaries and heads of department shall state the reasons why senior serving officers, if any, within ministries, departments are being superseded. Notice to officers transferred. 38. 1. Where the Commission proposes to transfer an officer, the Commission shall, except where the exigencies of the section of the public service do not permit, make an order of transfer, in writing, and shall give not less than 1 month's notice to an officer who is to be transferred. Officer to assume duties. 2. An officer in respect of whom an order has been made under Rule 38(1) shall assume his duties on transfer whether or not a review of the order of transfer by the Commission is pending. Representation by officer. 39. An officer who is aggrieved by an order or recommendation of promotion, appointment, dismissal, transfer, or discipline may make representation to the Commission for a review of the order or recommendation in accordance with the following provisions of this rule. 1. Where an officer desires to make representation to the Commission for a review of any such order or recommendation, he shall submit to the permanent secretary or head of department, within 7 days of the receipt of notification of the order or recommendation, his representation in writing. 2. The permanent secretary or head of department shall within 7 days forward to the Commission any representation in their original form submitted to him in writing together with any comments which he may wish to make thereon. 3. The Commission shall consider the representations of the officer and the comments if any of the permanent secretary or head of department, and shall communicate its decision in writing to the permanent secretary or head of department, and send a copy to the officer. Date of appointment. 40. 1. The date of appointment to an office in a particular ministry or department within the public service shall normally be the date on which the officer assumes substantively the duties of the office to which he has been appointed. 2. The date of appointment on promotion shall be such date as the Commission shall specify. 3. If an officer is selected for appointment from outside Guyana, the date of appointment shall be the date specified in the letter of appointment. Medical examination on appointment. 41. 1. A person selected for appointment in the public service shall undergo a medical examination by a government medical board, and shall not be confirmed in his appointment unless and until he has been passed medically fit. 2. The permanent secretary or head of department to which an appointee has been assigned shall make appropriate arrangements for him to be medically examined as soon as practicable after his assumption of duty. 3. The medical board, after examining the new appointee, shall submit a medical report on the prescribed form to the secretary under confidential cover as soon as practicable after the examination. 4. The secretary shall notify the appointee whether the medical report is favorable or unfavorable, and under confidential order, send copies of the report to the permanent secretary or head of department. 5. All communication relating to the medical report concerning an appointee shall be strictly confidential, and any officer who communicated the details of any medical report to any other person except for the purpose of, and as provided for in this rule, shall be guilty of improper conduct. Chapter 4. Probationary appointments. Period of probation on first appointment. 42. Except as otherwise provided in this chapter, an officer on first appointment to the public service shall be required to serve on probation for a period of not less than 1 year, or such longer period as may be specified. Period of probation on first appointment in other cases. 43. 1. Where an officer is to be appointed to an office, the duties which he has already satisfactorily performed, whether in an acting or temporary capacity, or on secondment for periods of equal or longer duration than the period of probation, the officer shall not be required to serve on probation. 2. Where an officer is appointed on probation to an office in which he has not acted satisfactorily, the Commission shall determine the period of probation to be subsidiary. Waiver of portion of period of probation served. 44. Where an officer is promoted before he has completed the full period of probation in the lower office, the unserved portion of that period of probation shall be deemed to be waived, and the officer deemed to be confirmed in that appointment. Confidential reports on officer on probation. 45. 1. A permanent secretary or head of department shall forward to the secretary in respect of each officer on probation a staff appraisal report at the end of his probationary period, and shall recommend, based on such appraisal report, either that the officer be confirmed in his appointment, or the probationary period be extended, or the officer revert to his former office where applicable, or his services be terminated. 2. A permanent secretary or head of department shall ensure that adverse comments are brought to the attention of the officer on probation, and that he is given every assistance to correct any shortcomings. Officer may make representation. 46. 1. Before any recommendation is made to the Commission for the extension of the period of probation of an officer, or for the termination of his appointment, the permanent secretary or head of department shall inform the officer of his recommendation, and of the specific reasons therefor, and he shall invite the officer to submit any representations he may wish to make. 2. Notwithstanding the provisions of these rules, the first appointment on probation of an officer may, at any time during the period of probation, be terminated by the Commission as it thinks fit. Commission to confirm appointment. 47. 1. The Commission shall consider the appraisal report submitted by the permanent secretary or head of department with respect to the officer on probation, and if subsidiary satisfied that the service of an officer on probation has been satisfactory, the Commission shall confirm his appointment with effect from the date of his appointment of probation. 2. If the Commission is not satisfied that the service of an officer on probation has been satisfactory, the Commission may extend the period of probation for a further period. Permanent secretary to keep record. 48. A permanent secretary or head of department shall keep a proper record of every officer who has been appointed on probation to an office in his ministry or department, and send copies of the record to the Commission at regular intervals, or at the request of the Commission. Commencing pay. 49. The Commission may, with the approval of the permanent secretary, public service ministry, authorize payment to an officer of a commencing pay higher than the minimum remuneration attaching to the office to which he is promoted, appointed, or transferred. Chapter 5. Staff appraisal reports. 50. 1. A permanent secretary or head of department shall forward to the secretary in each year a staff appraisal report not later than the anniversary of the date of the officer's appointment. 2. Following interview with the officer on his work performance, and conduct a staff appraisal report shall relate to the period of service during the preceding 12 months. 3. In the preparation of a staff appraisal report, the reporting officer shall be guided by his own deliberate judgment, and shall in such report, Public Service Commission rules, a. Make an unbiased assessment of the officer's performance and conduct over the past 12 months, and b. Give an indication of the future prospects of the officer. 4. A staff appraisal report shall be in such form as may from time to time be prescribed, and shall be made in respect of every officer, whether he hold a permanent appointment, an acting appointment, a temporary appointment, or is employed for a specified period, and shall be shown to the officer reported on before submission to the Commission. Officer to be informed of adverse report. 5. When adverse below average markings or comments are included in the staff appraisal report, the officer shall be informed by the permanent secretary or head of department in writing thereof, before the report is submitted to the secretary. Officer to be informed of shortcomings and given instructions on how to perform his duties. 51. 1. In order that an officer may be given every opportunity to correct any shortcomings which he might evince during the course of the 12 months period of service to be reported on, a permanent secretary or head of department shall, as and when such shortcomings are noticed, cause the officer to be informed in writing thereof, including instructions as to how he should perform his duties and a written warning to adhere to those instructions. Reports to determine eligibility for promotion. 2. A staff appraisal report made in respect of an officer under Rule 50 shall be considered by the Commission in determining the eligibility of the officer for promotion. Representation with respect to adverse report. 52. 1. Where written notice of an adverse report is given to an officer as required by Rule 55, the officer may, not later than 7 days of the receipt of such notification, subsidiary Public Service Commission rules, make representation in writing through the permanent secretary or head of department to the Commission. 2. The permanent secretary or head of department may within 7 days of the receipt of such representation submit his comments thereon, before forwarding them to the Commission. Chapter 6. Retirement and termination of appointments. Termination of appointment by officer. 53. 1. An officer who wishes to terminate his appointment shall give to the Commission through the permanent secretary or head of department notice in writing in duplicate of his intention, at least 2 weeks where the officer has been employed for less than 1 year and 1 month where the officer has been employed for 1 year or more before the date on which he wishes to relinquish his appointment. 2. Notwithstanding any rule respecting the non-forfeiture of leave, an officer who fails without reasonable cause to comply with Rule 53(1) shall be liable to have all leave and the benefits and privileges accruing to him in respect of leave forfeited. 3. An officer is not entitled to withdraw his notice of termination of appointment after such notice becomes effective, but the Commission may accept a withdrawal of the notice if tendered in writing at any time before the effective date of the termination of appointment. Abandonment. 54. An officer who is absent from duty without leave for any period abandonment, and without any adequate excuse, shall be presumed to have abandoned his office and may be dismissed by the Commission. Subsidiary Public Service Commission rules. Instances for termination of appointment mainly by employer. 55. Where applicable, the services of an officer may be terminated for the reasons stated hereunder. A. Where the officer holds a permanent appointment or temporary appointment. I. On dismissal or removal in consequence of disciplinary proceedings. I. On retirement, compulsory. I. On voluntary retirement. IV. On retirement or resignation for medical reasons. V. On being retired or removed in the public interest. VI. On resignation either with or without benefits payable under any written law providing for the grant of pensions, gratuities, or compensations. 7. On the abolition or expiry of the office. Where the office itself is of a temporary nature and is no longer necessary. X. During or on the expiry of a probationary period. X. By mutual consent. She. On the ground of redundancy. She. By service of notice either by the permanent secretary or head of department on the officer, such notice being 2 weeks where the officer is employed for less than 1 year, and 1 month where the officer is employed for 1 year or more. B. Where the officer is on contract, his services shall be terminated in accordance with the terms of the contract. An officer who is appointed to a permanent pensionable post, compulsory and voluntary retirement. A. Shall retire on attaining the age of 55 years, unless his services are continued at the request of the government. B. May at any time after he attains the age of 50 years and before attaining the age of 55 years apply to the Commission for permission to retire and shall in his application state the grounds on which it is based. Premature retirement and retirement in public interest. C. 2702, 57, 1. If it appears to the Commission that pursuant to Section 11 of the Pensions Act, an officer who has attained the age of 50 years ought to be called upon to retire from the public service, the Commission shall advise the officer accordingly, and 2. Such officer shall be afforded an opportunity of submitting to the Commission any representations he may wish to make regarding his proposed retirement, and 3. If the Commission, after considering the representations, if any, made by the officer, is of the opinion that, having regard to all the circumstances of the case, the officer should be retired in the public interest, the Commission shall require the officer to retire on such date as the Commission shall determine, and the officer shall be retired accordingly. Retirement in special cases. 4. Such representations shall be dealt with according to the procedures set out in Rule 39, 1, 2, and 3, 58, 1. Where it is represented to the Commission, or the Commission considers it desirable in the public interest that any officer should be required to retire on grounds which cannot suitably be dealt with under any of these rules, it shall call for a full report on the officer from the permanent secretary or head of department in which he is serving and shall take into account the officer's previous record during the last preceding 10 years. 2. If After considering such report and such record, giving the officer an opportunity of submitting a reply to the grounds on which his retirement is contemplated, and, subsidiary, termination of appointment on abolition of office, or for facilitating improvement in the organization of a ministry or department, having regard to the conditions of the particular section of the public service in which the officer is employed, the usefulness of the officer thereto, and all the other circumstances of the case, the Commission is satisfied that it is desirable in the public interest so to do. It shall require the officer to retire on such date as the Commission shall determine, and he shall be retired accordingly. 59. 1. Where an office, being one of a number of like offices, appointment on has been abolished but one or more than one such office remains, the permanent secretary or head of department shall make a report thereon to the secretary for consideration by the Commission, and shall recommend with his reasons therefor, which officer shall be retired or removed from the public service in consequence of such abolition. 2. Where it is necessary to retire or remove an officer from the public service for the purpose of facilitating improvement in the organization of a ministry or department, in order to effect greater efficiency or economy, the permanent secretary or head of department shall make a report thereon to the secretary for consideration by the Commission, and shall recommend with his reasons therefore which officer shall be retired or removed from the public service in consequence of such reorganization. 3. Where the permanent secretary or head of department makes any recommendation under Rule 61 or 2, the permanent secretary or head of department shall at the same time notify the officer concerned in writing of his recommendations, and such officer may, within 7 days of the receipt of the notification, make representations thereon. 4. Such representations shall be dealt with accordingly to the procedure set out in Rule 39 1, 2, and 3, Subsidiary, Public Service Commission Rules. 5. Notwithstanding Rule 61 or 2, and after consideration of the representations of the officer, the Commission may, instead of retiring or removing the officer from the public service, transfer the officer concerned to another office not lower in status than that which he held. Termination of appointment, by dismissal on the grounds unsatisfactory of service. 60. 1. The Commission may terminate the appointment of an officer by dismissal on grounds of unsatisfactory performance of duty. 2. Where a permanent secretary or head of department makes a recommendation in writing that the appointment of an officer should be terminated by dismissal on the grounds of unsatisfactory performance of duty, the officer shall be informed in writing of such recommendation, and such officer may, within 7 days of the receipt of the notification, make representations thereon. 3. Subject to Rule 65, such representations shall be dealt with according to the procedure set out in Rule 39 1, 2, and 3. 4. The employment of an officer shall not be terminated by dismissal for unsatisfactory performance of duty unless the permanent secretary or head of department has given instructions to the officer as to how he should perform his duties, and a written warning to adhere to such instructions, and the officer continues to perform any duty unsatisfactorily after a period of 1 month from the date of such instructions. 5. The Commission may, upon application of the officer or on its own motion, cause an investigation to be made before making a final decision. Medical boards. 61. 1. A medical board shall be held whenever it is necessary for an officer to be examined with a view to ascertaining whether or not the officer should be retired on grounds of ill health, or in any case or class of case in which the Commission so directs. 2. An officer may be required by the Commission to undergo a medical examination at any time. An officer who is required to undergo a medical examination shall submit himself to be examined by a medical board at such time and place as the Commission may direct. 4. Where an officer, through refusal or neglect to obtain specialist advice, or to obtain treatment when so recommended by the medical board, falls sick or in consequence is unable to perform his duties, the Commission may direct that the period which he is unable to perform his duties shall be counted as leave without pay. 5. Whenever it is considered necessary for an officer to be examined with a view to ascertaining whether or not he should be retired on grounds of ill health, the permanent secretary or head of department shall make a recommendation to this effect to the Commission, and where there is a medical record of the officer, the record shall be made available to the medical board. Where the reason or one of the reasons for the deterioration in the work of the officer is ill health, the Commission shall request that the officer undergo a medical examination, and the permanent secretary or head of department shall submit a detailed report on any change in the quality of the officer's work performance in order to assist the medical board in carrying out the medical examination of the officer concerned. Unfit officers. 62. 1. An officer who is medically boarded and found unfit for further service shall, unless there is a challenge to the Subsidiary, Public Service Commission Rules, finding of the medical board's report, not be allowed to remain on duty after receipt of the medical board's report, and shall be granted such annual leave and accumulated annual leave for which he is eligible. 2. If the officer has no leave to his credit, he shall be given 1 month's notice of termination of his appointment on medical grounds, or 1 month's salary in lieu thereof. Commission to determine date service terminated. 63. Where the appointment of an officer is terminated by any of the rules under Chapter 6, his service shall terminate on such date service terminated as the Commission determines, and the question of his pension, gratuity or other allowance shall be dealt with in accordance with the provisions of the Pensions Act or the provisions of the Termination of Employment and Severance Pay Act. C. 2702 C. 9601. Chapter 7 Discipline. Officer liable to disciplinary proceedings. 64. An officer who is alleged to be guilty of misconduct or indiscipline by failing to comply with any law, rule, order, or directive for time being in force, shall be liable to disciplinary proceedings in accordance with the procedure prescribed in these rules. Permanent Secretary or Head of Department to inform police of alleged criminal offense. 65. 1. Where any serious offense against any criminal law appears to have been committed by an officer, the Permanent Secretary or Head of Department shall report the matter forthwith directly to the police, providing all available supporting statements and material particulars for investigation by the police. Prosecution before the court. 2. If after investigation by the police, it is decided that the officer should be prosecuted before the court, the prosecution to be taken shall be reported forthwith to the Commission by the Permanent Secretary or Head of